Welcome to the Wealth Masterclass, where we teach you to make, manage, and multiply money. I tell you, today's teaching is going to be exciting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to break it into series. So make sure you look out for part 1, part 2, as many parts as it goes into. But I guarantee you, it's going to be a fantastic one. At the Wealth Masterclass, we teach you to make money, to manage money, and then to multiply it. And today, as well as in this series, my teaching is going to focus on how to develop a millionaire mindset. A millionaire mindset. Because look, let me leave you with this thought from the beginning. Whatever you become, particularly in the area of finance, has a lot to do with your mind and your mouth. M&M. Your mind and your mouth. Or let's do T&T. You think and you talk. You think and you talk. Your mind and your mouth. So many people do not realize that if it's going to be, it's up to you. If it's going to be, it's up to you. Your mind, your thinking has a lot to do with where you are now and where you will be in the subsequent years to come. So you've got to learn how to form a clear mental picture of what you want, because you can only transmit an idea you have. Let us imagine the late Steve Jobs impressed upon his staff at Apple the need for a phone without a keyboard. At that time, BlackBerry dominated the world. But BlackBerry had a weakness. It had press buttons. And his staff thought, how can that be? A phone without a keyboard, or rather, keyboards which you press one at a time and sometimes it gets stuck. He wanted something which it practically is part of the electronics of it. And today, Apple becomes one of the dominating telephones in the world. It started as a thought until it became a reality. Your thoughts must have to affirm your desire for wealth creation, not a mere experience. The challenge for the poor is that, unlike the wealthy, poor people just want to touch money. They just want to experience wealth. They want to be able to say, I once knew wealth. But with the wealthy, they believe that they were created to handle wealth and to have it in abundance. So today I want you to know that God and you can make it happen. No one ever creates wealth or start the creative power of wealth creation by a mere spending time on ill-informed longing and vague desires. You know, when people want to create wealth, they do not realize that, look, you can't just have a longing for it or base your desire for wealth creation on ill-informed desires and ideas. You have to think. You know, as a man thinks, so is he. Have a clear mental picture of how you want to look when you have the wealth. It is part of your journey. Because you see, you think and you talk. Your mind and your mouth shape your future. Just imagine somebody designed the shirt I'm wearing. They saw it in their mind. Probably it was an out of the regular kind of design, but they saw it and they went on to make it happen. In the same vein, you've got to learn how to see what you want, have a clear picture. Spend a lot of time contemplating the picture of the wealth you would like to create. The more clear and definite the picture of wealth creation is, the more you can achieve it, because your desire then increases. If you spend time thinking in a particular area, you find your mind oscillating around it. Let me give you a test. Have you noticed every time you thought, I would like to buy a Toyota Corolla, that's the most popular Toyota on earth, you begin to notice Toyota Corollas everywhere. It's amazing. It was always there, but because your mind had not been taught to garner Toyota Corollas and look, you missed it. But the moment you begin to look out for Toyota Corollas, you see it everywhere. In fact, your hand also wants to now Google and search for Toyota Corolla. Same thing with wealth creation. If it's in your mind and in your mouth, you begin to see it and you begin to say it. You begin to see it, you begin to say it. The more clear and definite the picture is, the more likely your life moves in that direction. Your thought must be accompanied by an unwavering faith that the things are already yours. You just need to take possession of it. So if you begin to see it and say it, that one day I'm going to create wealth, I'm going to handle it, it is going to happen. In the holy book, the Bible, it says, whatsoever thing you desire. So there has to be a passion for it, a desire for it. In other words, you've got to see the things you want as if it's already around you for the reality of it to hit you. If you don't see it, you don't say it. And if you don't say it, you don't have it. It's amazing. Even in the poorest of nations, there is still wealth somewhere. While some people focus on the poverty, someone else focuses on the abundance. He sees the opportunity. Even in crisis, people see opportunities. I'd like you to imagine a refugee camp. 100,000 people displaced because of a civil war in their nation. And they have had to move out and create a refugee camp. The United Nations decides these refugees are human beings and they needed to be protected and given some care. Did you know that the United Nations will engage a company to provide water for these 100,000 refugees? Let us imagine that a bottle of water provides a special price. It's 50 cents. So that would be 50 cents bottle of water, 100,000 in the morning. Did you know what that comes to? That is $50,000 in the morning, $50,000 in the afternoon, and $50,000 in the evening, every day. And guess what? Do you know who pays for it? You and I. And you may be saying, how? Because our nations are member states of the United Nations and have to make yearly contribution. And the United Nations takes the money to take care of this refugee situation. I've not even talked about the food the refugees will eat. I've not talked about the company that will supply all the tents that these refugees will stay in. I've not talked about the company that will supply all the blankets that these refugees will stay in. Do you see how one person sees a crisis, some other person sees opportunities in every nation? Matter of fact, I might just be slightly controversial here by saying the United Nations has a presence on ground in the Democratic Republic of Congo since 1961. Because there has always been a refugee problem somewhere in that country. Whereas it is probably one of the wealthiest nations in the world, potentially, because it has the largest deposit of all the minerals in Africa. So how do you see things? see things you want as if it is already around you. And it will begin to be that your mind walks towards it and your hand begins to go towards it. Dwell in the mental picture you see. Hold on to the mental ownership of what you see. If you see wealth and you say, I'm going to be part of those whom this wealth will be theirs, then all the things we've been teaching at the Wealth Master class comes together. The principles of hard work, duty, changing your mind, the way you think, investment, now begins to work. Because you see, even if you are taught to invest, if your mindset have not changed, you will not. So you've got to learn to understand. If it's going to be, it's up to you, but your mind must see it. So don't waver. Change your mind, change your mouth, things will change. Change how you think, change how you talk, and things will begin to change. Then you've got to learn how to repeat the right thing. But repeated words are not enough. You hold the vision with unshakable sense of purpose, and that vision becomes a reality. You must see it. You see, your perception produces your reception. If you can't perceive it, you can't conceive it. If you don't conceive it, you won't believe it. If you don't believe it, you won't receive it. Let me go through again. It's a good alliteration for you. If you can't perceive, you can't conceive. If you don't conceive, you won't believe. If you don't believe, you won't receive. Or let me do it slightly different. If you can't perceive it, you can't believe. And if you don't believe, you won't conceive. And if you don't conceive, you won't receive. But if you can perceive it, then you begin to believe. And if you believe, then you begin to conceive it. You begin to carry it in the womb of your trust and your belief, in the womb of your ability to achieve everything around you. The television, the phone, the iPad, or laptop from where you're watching me was once a perception that became a belief. The belief became a conception, and the conception became a reality. The power to create wealth starts with thinking and talking it. You cannot spend your life, don't forget this. You can't spend your life studying poverty when your desire is riches. Honestly, from now on, you observe your television, most movies, most mini martinis knock wealth. Whereas the guys who produce these programs are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but they help us perpetuate a lie. They make us have an attitude towards wealth. So no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. No one. No one ever increased and created wealth by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. So don't talk, don't investigate, or concern yourself with poverty. If anything, you can help people who are in a poor situation. But if you want to create wealth, in fact, you must start with this concept that poor can't help poor. Poor cannot help poor. It is when you've created wealth that you are able to help people. No one ever increased and created wealth by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. So don't talk, don't investigate, or concern yourself with poverty. If anything, you can help people who are in a poor situation. But if you want to create wealth, in fact, you must start with this concept that poor can't help poor. Poor cannot help poor. It is when you've created wealth that you are able to help people. The mental image of wealth and poverty cannot reside in the same mind. I repeat, the mental image of poverty and wealth cannot reside in the same mind. One has to make room for the other. So if you want to create wealth, you have to have this thing that makes you not justify poverty or make statements that make room for it. You begin to clear your mind. You begin to prepare your mind to welcome wealth, not as a bad thing, but as a good thing, because you do more good with wealth than you could ever. I don't even know what you could do with poverty. There is nothing you could use to poverty to do. But rather with wealth, you can change lives, you can sponsor people, you can help, you can create communities, you can you can build homes for people who lack one. You can pull people out of lack. You can help people enter dimensions they've never entered before. Listen, you are not insensitive or heartless if you refuse to study, see, or pity poverty. Because this aspects of our teaching at the Wealth Masterclass is a strong one. And you need to reach that place where you tell yourself, I am not heartless for refusing to study poverty, see poverty, or pity poverty. Because something inside us wants to begin to make room and feel sorry for poverty and say, well, it's not their fault. It's just life. It's the government. Many times in third world nations and even in the first world, so to say, it may have truly been some systems the government created. But like I'm teaching today at the Wealth Masterclass, I'm letting you know, if it's going to be, it's up to you and up to me. So, remember, it's a series. Make sure you love this teaching. Make sure you subscribe. Please leave a comment. Leave a comment. However which this has hit you, leave a comment. React to it. I would like to engage you and let you see what we are sharing with you and how much this could help you. In the second part of this teaching on the Wealth Masterclass and the mindset of the millionaire, I want to let you know what we've been teaching. Your mind and your mouth have a lot to do with your financial status. Your mind and your mouth have a lot to do with your financial status. If I can't change your think and talk, I cannot change what comes into your hand. But if I can change your thinking and your talking, I can change what comes into your hand. If it's going to be, it's up to you. So what do? Use your willpower to keep your mind off the subject of poverty. Off the subject of poverty. Stop adding yourself to the company of the poor. Even if you don't have physical money now, think rich thoughts. See yourself as a wealth creator. Look for some capacities you have, some abilities you already have, and you will be amazed that you are gifted, you are awesome, you are wonderful. There are great things you could do, amazing things you could do that will begin to make wealth come to you. Most of the things we now have to buy or subscribe or pay for never existed. Somebody saw a problem and solved it. My watch solves a time problem. My glasses solves a sight problem. Everything around you solves a problem. And once people are able to now work in the area of the problem they solve, they charge you for it. So, You are gifted. There is a gifting about you. It may even just be natural talent. There are people who are using just their fingers for modeling, and it creates wealth for them. There are those for whom just their eyes is their modeling, and it creates wealth for them. So you are gifted one way or the other. Everything man fashions with his hands must first start in his thought. Man cannot shape anything without thinking first. It's not possible. It has to first be a picture he sees in his mind, then it becomes a creation he makes. The Wright brothers joined a group of people who suddenly began to think of creating a machine that makes man to fly. There were several attempts by different people, but it was the Wright brothers who were the first to truly take off and stay in the air for less than a minute, but entered the world record as the first official people to fly. Their flight was for less than a minute, but they became the first officially known as people who had flown. They saw it in their mind. They put together mechanical trappings. They obeyed the law of aviation to some degree and gained some thrust and lift off. But they saw it in their mind. What do you see? First, it is a thought. Then material is taken from nature to give shape to that thought. Look at this cup. First, it was a thought. Then somebody thought, let's create what we can use to drink. Before man created this, he would use what nature provided, calabash, some wood that was carved with which he scooped water. In fact, some people are more primitive. They fold leaves and used to scoop water. But then he found that if he took sand from the sea and put the sand under incredible pressure, sand will melt and become glass. This is sand. But it started as a man's thought. And so when you and I buy beautiful, even crystal was once ordinary sand that went under amazing pressure, particularly sometimes underground, and became crystal. And if it is glass, it was also sand that was put under pressure. Let's not even talk about diamond. Diamond was once sand that went under pressure, and or charcoal or coal that went under pressure and moved from coal to diamond. Nature is where everything we use comes from, but it takes the ability to find it. The good book, the Bible says, it is the glory of God to conceal, and it is the glory of man to reveal. God conceals. In fact, it says it's the glory of kings to reveal. So you become a king in your domain if you have the ability to see upon a tree, the ability to turn it to paper. So this paper in my hand was once a tree in the bush. Somebody saw that tree, ground it to powder, poured water, it became pulp, put it under a machine, pressurized it, and pressed the water out and removed all the drag, heated it, and it became paper. These are granules of a tree that eventually became a paper. First, it was the thought. Then the material is taken from nature to give shape to the thought. Man can form things in his thought. I could describe things that I've never seen before, even as I sit here. Can you imagine a beautiful ball that travels at 3,000 kilometers per hour and has the ability to spin on the outside, but inside it is stable? And that same ball travels from where I am seated to another country. And because it has GPS inside it, it lands. You can see it to some degree in your mind. I just described what does not exist at the moment except in science fiction. In fact, if you notice, science fiction of 20 years ago is now science fact. There was a time 20 years ago we would see people who would, in some science fiction film, they will have a watch on which they watch a video and they are given instruction or telling someone, I'll be home very soon. And now it's a fact. And now it's a fact. iPhone has iWatch, and you can watch video on your iWatch. It's become a fact. That's what I'm trying to challenge you. So, but if you occupy your mind with the dregs of lack and poverty and limitations, that's all you will see. Because your mind is the workshop of your future. Your mind is the workshop of your future. What your mind sees, your mouth talks. What your mouth talks, your mind believes. Mind and mouth, thinking and talking. Man can form things in his thoughts. Wealth creation requires thinking in a certain way. You have to think in a certain way to create wealth. I have seen friends, relations, cousins, brothers. No matter what you tell them, they have a certain way of looking. They are in financial challenges, but they've not changed their think and they've not changed their talk. They would rather beg and have their needs temporarily met rather than change their think and thought and the way they handled wealth. Wealth creation requires thinking in a certain way. To think wealth when surrounded by poverty requires the power of the mind. The one who acquires such mind becomes a mastermind. I repeat, to think wealth when you are surrounded by poverty requires a certain mind. And the one who acquires such a mind becomes a mastermind because he saw what others didn't see. That's why you'll find great corporations founded by a person who was once poor. Founder of Sony, once used to sell food as a street hawker. From there moved to electronics. From electronics created things and then made even cars. Many companies, particularly that come out of Asia, the founders were born in lack and poverty, and they graduated as they saw the capacity to create wealth. In fact, in today's world, 89% of today's millionaires in most economies did not inherit wealth. They are nourish new wealth. Most of them. Some of them were born in stark poverty. Stark poverty. But they saw the ability and thought the thoughts that led to wealth creation. The thought that led to wealth creation. Why thought? Because listen, if you only think of not being able to do a thing, then you will not be able to. I like you to imagine in my hand the insect, the bumblebee. The bumblebee has wings that are not shaped aeronautically for flight. But the bumblebee flies. Why? Because the bumblebee does not know the law of aeronautics. The day somebody tells the bumblebee, your wings are not shaped for flight, you cannot fly, the bumblebee will struggle to fly. Most times, people have noticed that when the baby is born, up to the first few months, if you put the baby in water, the baby swims. Naturally. Swims, knows what to do with the leg and the arms. The baby swims. But as the baby begins to grow, we in the environment begin to teach him to fear water, and the capacity to swim leaves him. Because your think and your talk determines the way life is. If you're getting this teaching and it's helping you, please like and subscribe.